defining prophetic. Today we're looking at the third vision of Apostle Paul. The first vision Paul had was on his way to Damascus after he had taken license from the Pharisees to go and bring Christians bound. We know the experience, how Christ appeared to him and then made him know how he was going to serve his purpose and all of that. After his ministry began, we saw how Paul's life turned out and everything he did for God. But then something happened. By the time he had his third vision, the second one was first of all when they wanted to go to Mytinia to preach, Mytinia and Bithynia. They had passed through Mytinia and did the work of the ministry. And trying to ascend to Bithynia, the Holy Ghost forbade them. But in the process of that, a man appeared to him in a vision, a Macedonian man, and beckoning on Paul and his ministry compatriots to come and minister to them. That happened to be the second vision of Apostle Paul. And that was how they knew that the Lord was calling them to go and preach in that territory. But then the third vision of Apostle Paul occurred in Corinth. You find that in the chapter 18 of the book of Acts. What happened in the vision? Paul had met Aquila and Priscilla in Corinth, and they all went together from synagogue to synagogue every of the Sabbath day, convincing the Jews that Jesus was the Christ. Then in the course of their ministry, a time came in that same chapter 18, Christ telling Paul that he should not be afraid, that no one would hurt him in Corinth, in that city, because he had more people there. Actually reveals to us the importance of God's people being more in cities, being more in territories, and not just in territories, also, and equally being more in systems. It's important that we have the people of God occupy positions, occupy spheres, occupy places of influences for the sake of the gospel. One of the reasons why the believers will keep having problems and prejudice and persecutions in our time today is because Christ have less people in most places. So you see government being an arm through which the devil oppresses God's people, brings in policies that are not kingdomly and all of that. It's because Christ's people are less there. So the third vision of Apostle Paul reveals to us how that it's important for God's people to be found in everywhere, to be found in places of influence, places of rulership, places of position, places of power, because their position and availability and presence in certain places will help to ensure that the work of God keeps moving on. If, for example, we had a kingdom person amongst the ranks of the Babylonian government, you discover that it will be easier for them not to have brought in policies of idolatry. Yes, Daniel was a man that was given position in that territory, but he was not amongst the government of Babylonian system. He only showed up when there was a need for God to prove his kingdom in that place. So Paul's vision, what we glean from it, is that believers, God's people, should now begin to take their places in power, in places of influence, in territories. They should be found not just in the halls of worship, they should be found not just in places of prayers and teachings, but they should be found in positions to grant opportunity for the gospel to have free flow. So as believers, we are charged to ensure that we are everywhere. We're encouraged as God's people, those of you who know that you are called into politics, you are called into leadership, you are called into rulership, you are called into the academic sphere, you are called into entertainment, ensure you go there as an ambassador of Christ, because the large presence, the vast presence of God's people in systems, places, territory will guarantee that the gospel has free flow. Remember, the gospel of the kingdom must needs be preached to all men before the coming of Christ will be established. I trust God that this message have really blessed you and inspired you. God bless you much. This is Resurgence School of Prophets and Seers. We also are an apostolic people. Trust God you were blessed and inspired by this ministration. Remain blessed till some other time.